Diego, thanks for being on the show, man. I hope I'm not interrupting any last minute Christmas shopping.
No, no, I'm pretty broke this year. I'm not going to buy anybody anything, so it worked out pretty simple for me.
That's the way I go pretty much every year. Although I'm not I don't go, I don't usually celebrate Christmas, so it's not that big of a deal, but no one expects anything. So I think it's
Yeah,
so if I do get them a gift, they're like really surprised.
I
Um,
really enjoy buying people gifts, like when you see it and it reminds you of them, and you're like, oh, that's the perfect thing, but for no occasion. Like I hate oh, it's Christmas, everybody buy each other a gift.
where you're like forced to buy someone. Plus, like, it sucks too to go shopping around this time. I kind of like I kind of like that. Like just if you see something that's cool, like I'll just buy this for you anytime. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, pretty
So
much.
what, Diego? How long have you been fighting professionally?
Shit, really bad with dates, but I know I've been training for close to 20 years.
20 years. You've been doing it for a
Yeah,
while. And what
yeah.
what inspired you to become a fighter?
Oh, the movie, The Smashing Machine. I went to see it at my brother's house on a Friday, and Monday morning I was at a gym signing up.
The next day, what the Smashing Machine? When did that come out?
Dates
Is it like an
again. I'm
80s,
really bad.
90s?
No, it's maybe late '90s, early 2000s, probably early 2000s.
Who's in it?
It's
Like Rock or something?
it's a documentary about Mark Kerr, and he fought in Pride.
Oh, okay. You know what? This does sound familiar. I might have
Yeah,
seen that. So you check that out. You're like, you know what? I want to do this. Did you fight a lot like as a kid?
not well.
So is that kind of when you learn like I don't care about being punched in the face?
yeah, I broke my leg once, and I was walking on it for 3 days before I went to the doctor because my coach called me a pussy. He said, "There's no way it was broke. There's no way it's broken," and it just kept getting more and more swollen. And my wife at the time was like, "Oh, I really think you should go to the doctor." And I went, I got an X-ray. Instantly, the doctor was like, "Yeah, it's fucking broken." And I was like, "Oh, maybe I'm not wired like everybody else."
So wait, but so you're just saying maybe you just don't feel pain as much as everyone else?
I I don't think I interpret it the same as everybody else.
Probably a good characteristic of a fighter, if you think about it.
For a fighter, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Like I remember like I started skateboarding and I was just like, I really don't like breaking bones. I'm not going to be good at this. Whereas like you're like, hey, I don't mind being punched in the face. I'm going to get into fighting. So when you first got into it, were you doing like MMA, like mixed martial arts?
Well, the first thing I did was no gi jujitsu. I wrestled in high school, but I really sucked in high school. I was raised by a single mom. I had never really tried out for a sport. I didn't have any like competitive nature. I didn't understand what it took to be a winner. Um, but I did learn some basic, ground stuff just from the world of wrestling. Like I remember I got into a street fight and I shot a double leg takedown and I was on top, and I didn't know what to do, but I was like, oh shit, like this kind of works on normal people.
You didn't just go into the ground and pound mode.
Yeah.
Typically you see that. So you started into MMA, started doing jujitsu, and then when did you go to like I'm like fighting like fighting in a ring? Like who did you fight for? Like Bellator? No.
No, my first fight was for a local MMA show called Total Combat, and they promoted a lot in Southern California. At one point, they were being considered to be purchased by SUFA. So, like when they bought the WEC, if you have, if anybody remembers that, they bought the WEC. They were looking for like a feeder program, and one of the shows they looked at was Total Combat, which had a great matchmaker who later became my coach, Eric Del Fiero. He's the coach of Dominic Cruz, Phil Davis. He's coached Alex Gustafson, like just a great array of talent in that gym.
Yeah. So what was your record in the MMA?
In MMA, pro, I think on Sherdog's like 7-1. But I did some like underground fights that I never saw show up on Sherdog. So I was in California doing MMA before Arnold was the governor. He's legalized MMA for everybody, and so before that, we would have to go to Indian reservations in California or to TJ, which in San Diego was right across the border for us. But I did do some fights that weren't on Indian reservations that were really like low key underground shit, you know. So
So
altogether, I would say like I think I was like 12-1,
damn.
you
So
know, for MMA.
when you're talking low key, what do you mean? Like in the basement, like we're surrounded by like bales of hay?
Not hay, like I've seen that like in the UK a lot and stuff where they do like bare knuckle stuff underground with the hay, like. But at MMA gyms, like behind closed doors and stuff, and like some fights, the were billed as amateur. Like the first thing I think I did was pancration, you know. So I don't consider that MMA, but I was already like doing a lot of pancration stuff, and I think a lot of people saw me. If I'm correct, God, my memory's so tall. I think I have like a state championship in pancration. I'll have to double check. Yeah, I think I won that. But from there, like a lot of people saw me, and I got to know a lot of people because I had great coaches. I was training with Brandon Vera at the time, and they would call me to do like amateur shows. This was before Camo existed, and they didn't really have like rules for amateur shows. So I would go there, and they would say it was an amateur fight, and last minute they'd be like, if you want to throw an elbow, it's okay. We're not gonna, and then I would like put on a show, and then they would actually like give me some money, like not a lot, but I was like, oh shit, like this
Hey,
isn't fucking, amateur, like this is a fight, like
so you got an actual ref there though. It's not just like
yeah, yeah,
uh,
no, I'm not talking like
like blood.
Lionheart in the empty pool where like just people are watching you with a gun, and if you try to escape, only one, two men into one man leaves. Nah, it was like MMA. It was just like really low key. It was illegal. Like I said, it was really hard to get something sanctioned unless it was on an Indian
Yeah.
casino, or a reservation or TJ. So this were like, like what some
It's an
people considered
unsanctioned
smokers,
fight. Yeah.
right?
So
But like I said, a lot of them would be like, go ahead, throw an elbow and shit, and I would always leave with some money. So I'm like, well, I don't really feel like I'm an amateur.
yeah, it's like, I mean, why not? Still counts. It's kind of like
Yeah.
you ever see those fights with what was that guy's name? Kimbo Slice.
Oh, of
Remember?
course.
Yeah, and he'd
Yeah.
be like someone's backyard, just beating the
Yeah.
fuck out of somebody.
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
I
I
think of.
did some, I mean, I did shit like that too with the homies, but I don't put that on my record. Like I love Hickson Gracie, but he's like, oh, 400 street fights undefeated. I'm like, I think a lot of those were maybe at the gym, but
So
I don't want to. I don't want to get on the Gracie bad side.
I read that
There's,
like a detached retina ended your career. Oh, how did that work? Did you get hit too hard in the eye and your eyeball fell out? Like how'd that work?
it didn't exactly fall out, no, but it happened in training, and
Oh,
I never told the person who did it. I know who it was. It was a UFC fighter, and they threw an uppercut. And I remember just seeing the uppercut like right, and I was like, "Oh shit!" And it went like right into my eyeball,
oof.
and my eye went white, and it was like white for like a couple hours. I kind of knew something was wrong, and I called the doctor and I explained my symptoms later, and they were like, "Oh yeah, like you need to come in." So it happened very quickly, and I was very lucky that the doctor said he could, fix it because it's not always fixable.
So you can still see out of the eye, everything.
Very poorly,
Oh,
very
okay.
poorly. I'm legally blind in my right eye. I can see shapes, and it does help me have some depth of perception. Where if I had zero eye, my depth of perception would be off more. But I have a second problem where it's from one of my BKFC fights. I broke the orbital,
Ooh,
and it crushed one of the nerves that controls the pupil. So the pupil controls how much eye goes into the light, goes into the eye. So it doesn't contract anymore. It's stuck open. So my right eye is also super light sensitive. So like sometimes people see me wearing like sunglasses that are just to cover like one eye. And I think people think it's like a fashion shit, but it's like really like,
like no, I need this.
yeah, exactly. Because if I wear regular shades, then I cover my one good eye, and then I feel like I lose too much visibility.
So I'm assuming most people, when they, break their orbital arch and the detach the retina, would be like, you know what? I think I'm gonna retire from from fighting. But you moved on to an even more violent form of fighting, bare knuckle boxing. So how did that happen?
I saw the first show. Like I was when I was retired, I tried to come back to MMA. And everybody knew that I retired because my eyes were so bad. But honestly, what kept me from coming back to MMA was my knees. I've torn my MCLs multiple times. Like I have two spaghetti noodles for MCLs, and
Oh,
sometimes they just pop out of place. So I would try to come back, get in shape for an MMA fight, and then they would always like during camp they would like slip and set me back. But when I do boxing, I never have a knee problem, or I haven't had a knee problem. Shit, knock
well,
on wood. I don't want to jinx it.
that's because people aren't. I mean, I mean, it's those kicks that you see, like right to the knee, right to the shin, and things like that. Just seem so powerful. It's got to like take its toll on the body, over time.
Yeah, that shit doesn't help. But like honestly, most of my knee injuries came from wrestling.
Okay, yeah, back
Yeah,
in the day,
takedowns,
yeah.
fucking takedowns. Yeah.
Oh, so you got into bare knuckle boxing, and you just kind of found. So that's like you're in a ring, just it's just fisticuffs, basically, right?
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
how do you win? Just you knock somebody out?
No, the
Or
rules are just like boxing, except the rounds are shorter and you can work in the clinch. Where in boxing, this is considered dirty boxing and you're not allowed to do that. You can do that in bare knuckle boxing, which I think is amazing. And I really think it's a sport that's set up or catered to older MMA fighters because a lot of them, like I said, they have joint problems, like knee injuries, all these shoulder injuries that really get aggravated when you do grappling. But when you do just hand striking, it seems like everybody can still do that, after an MMA career. Obviously, some people had some brain injuries, and that's not maybe the best thing. But without the gloves, it's a lot less damaging. I think the glove boxing is way worse for your brain, actually.
even with the padding, it's just
Oh yeah, yeah. So the gloves were designed so they could keep champions longer. They're not there to protect your head. They protect your hands because what happens was when you do bare knuckle boxing, you break your hands.
break your.
So if you have an amazing champion, like wow, this guy's a fucking killer, but you're fighting him all the time, he would break his hands and it would limit how long somebody could have a career. That's another reason why I think it's better for older fighters. If you have amazing hands, you shouldn't start with BKFC. You should go do some other sports first and then break your hands at BKFC when you're on your way out already. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
if you when you put the gloves on, it allows you to hit somebody's skull so much harder. So
and you're
then
not
it becomes, I'm sorry?
like you're not feeling the pain in your hand at that point. You're not damaging your own hand.
Exactly. Yeah, it's you all wrapped up and you got the cushion so you can punch somebody in the skull and not break your hand, which allows you to hit somebody in the head much harder. Plus, you have the added weight of the glove, which adds to the impact of the head. So yeah, it's actually more dangerous for sure.
I never even thought about it that way. So
Yeah.
is that where did you earn the nickname Dos Pistolas in bare knuckle boxing?
No, no, I got that in MMA, and I did a Bellator fight with Syed Awad, who was a like top 10 Bellator lightweight for a really long time. Moved up to 170. He beat Cyborg, if anybody knows from Shootbox, the
Yeah,
170 pounder. He was a murderer. He was married to the other Cyborg for a while. I used to train with both of them in San Diego. But Syed Awad is like, in my opinion, like a really underrated fighter. He's really great. And they call him the assassin or some shit like that. I don't know. I took that fight like after like Bellator tried to give me 3 fights in a row and they all fell through really close together. And I kept making weight. So by the time I got to the Saeda fight, I had made weight like almost 3 times in a row, really close together. And my trainer was like, look, he goes, don't even train. You're peaked so hard for so long, like just go home. And I came into that fight like 2 weeks off the couch, kind of really
Ooh.
out of shape and really burnt out. And he probably was like really beating he was beating the shit out of me really, really bad. And like almost like he got tired of beating the shit out of me and mentally cracked. Like went, fuck, dude, this guy's not, and you could
Not
see
going
him be
down.
like, Jesus Christ, he's not gonna go down. And so eventually I turned it around. And then when I fucking dropped them, I went like that.
You
And
did like,
then
oh, he like two guns, like two
yeah,
pistols.
yeah. And then when I was a couple of weeks later, I was watching the fight in Mexico with my tia Lupe, and she's like in Spanish, she's like, "Ay, muy chingón con sus dos pistolas." Like, you're so badass with your two little guns, you know. So that's where I got the nickname.
That's a great nickname.
Thank
So,
you.
I watched one of your fights on YouTube. I can't remember who the guy was, but dude, your face was like half of it was just bloody and swollen. So I was like, how long does it take to recover after one of these fights?
You know what? That's where some of my Wolverine powers come out. I know exactly which fight you were talking about,
I mean,
and
dude, it was bare knuckle. I mean, you guys
yeah.
beat the shit out of each other.
Well, what happened is they stopped the fight because they thought my jaw was broken. I forget the scientific name for it, and I doubt you can see it. Is that I have a super sharp, bony edge on the inside right here. The doctors say after years of chewing, the jaw kind of comes out like this. It's calcium deposits, and they're really sharp. So sometimes when I get punched, it cuts my cheek from the inside. It's happened before to me. It's too high to get covered by a mouthpiece, so that doesn't work. And it has happened to me before, but this was the worst time ever. So it cuts the cheek and it starts filling up with blood, right? So my face was like, it looked like the elephant man because it was all internal swelling. And they go, your jaw's broken.
Darn.
I go, it's not broken. It's not broken. Please don't stop the fight. But they were just like, fuck, dude, it's bare knuckle boxing. It's on TV. It's like, we can't have your face explode, you know? So they stopped the fight. I was like really bummed out because I thought I was really, he was getting the better of me, but like I could see it's the same thing. Like he just starts cracking, like mentally. People mentally crack from not killing me.
That I was
And
about to say, like, I would be like, well, I'm gonna kill this guy. I don't want to
yeah,
do that.
he dropped me and I kept getting up. And every time I was like madder and madder, you know? And it's like I kept like if you watch the fight, you see I'm like, fuck, when they stop it, I'm like, I'm going to murder you, you know, and you could see as a fighter, you can recognize little fucking things in people's eyes. And I knew he was like, fuck, dude, like I could see it, you know. So I was really disappointed that they stopped that fight. But to answer your question, I do like fasting, and fasting can like really speed up the healing process.
Hmm.
I think I fasted for 3 days after that fight, and in 7 days, I looked absolutely normal. Like all my friends that have are in MMA and had our tough wars were like, holy shit, dude! Like you can't even tell. Other than I had stitches, they had to be removed. Like I had a bunch of stitches,
Like
but
your
other
face
than that, yeah,
looked, I mean, you just returned to normal. Wow,
in
that's
7 days,
good
yeah.
body. That's amazing. I never knew fasting could could aid that process. Um, so you're talking about the ring. So you're in the ring, and you can tell like there's certain signs that hey, this guy might be losing it, or this guy, now you're going to take advantage of this particular opportunity. How much of it is just strategy versus go fucking crazy and beat the shit out of someone?
Well, I mean, strategy is a lot. You know, I just have never been a very technical fighter. Like my strategy is I know what I'm good at. I'm only good at one thing. So I'm not like a world champion and shit, but I'm a tough fucking guy and I'll give anybody, but anybody my size, I'll give you problems. I don't care who you are. And my strategy is I'm a pressure fighter. So I always walk forward. And a lot of people crack like that, man. A lot of people in the gym even that are supposed to be better than me, sometimes like I see them, you know, like we spar and then I just never take a step back, and eventually like, you know, sometimes I start getting the better of them, and I'm talking about more skilled fighters, you know.
Hmm.
So it's not the best for bare knuckle because in bare knuckle you get cut up so much faster. I think I would do it maybe a lot better if I had started boxing with gloves earlier on. Like that probably honestly for my skill set, if I would have just started really young with the boxing, that probably would have been my best thing because I can take a beating and, you know, crack a lot of people.
Was it who was it? Was it Mike Tyson that said everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the face?
Yeah.
Was he said that?
Yeah, but I'm very fortunate. Like, I don't think you can teach this to anybody. I'm very fortunate in the aspect that when you punch me in the face, like my instant plan is I'm gonna fuck you up. Like you could see it. Like, like you hit me and I just get angrier and like more savage and shit. Like where a lot of people, when they do get hit a lot, they start fucking mentally taking a step back. And as a fighter, like I said, I think everybody, if you have any kind of a fight IQ, you can recognize those moments in the fight where I see you make a face and I go, oh shit, you're already thinking about quitting. And sometimes I've seen it on you. Sometimes you could see it at the weigh-ins. Like there's fights for sure I know I've won at the weigh-ins where you see somebody, you look at them in the eye and you're like, fuck, you're scared.
You could just tell, like they don't have the nerve, like right
Yeah.
at the end. You always
Yeah.
see that with these guys. Like some of them, I always find it funny when you get the guy that's like being all macho and gesturing and pushing the dude, and then he just gets a shit kicked out of him in the first round.
Yeah. It's
You see
hilarious.
that now and then, yeah, it's just like, okay, you're acting like a dick. Well, you got what was coming to you.
Yeah, and
Um,
I think all that shit got real popular with like Conor McGregor, but I've never been like that. It's like I'm super calm, but as soon as we do the stare down, it's like, oh shit, like I'm telepathically telling you I'm gonna fucking murder you. Like my job is to kill you. It's the referee's job to stop it before that happens.
and you can like psychologically just tell right there that's like
Yeah,
there's
like I could see it. I've seen the people at the weigh-ins that cracked mentally. I could see it there, and I can verify that it did happen at the fight. It doesn't happen all the time. There's a lot of tough guys. Like Syed was tough. I didn't like crack him at the weigh-ins or anything.
So what's the most brutal KO that you've ever inflicted on somebody? Like where you actually were like, holy shit, like is this guy okay?
Um, Even my very first fight, like I was a jujitsu guy. I had very little stand-up training, and a lot of people were like, "Oh shit!" Like I was tell people at the gym, like, "Yeah, I got to fight. I got a pro fight," and people would be like I heard they'd be like behind my back, like, "Dude, can you throw a punch?" Like, um, I figured out like I do have like a lot of like natural knockout power because I just fucking I swarm and like I'm just like a punches and bunches and I pressure pressure pressure. But on that first fight, I hit the kid and he was completely like dead unconscious. Like he was like for a really long time in the ambulance. They were trying to wake him up. And I remember his mom was crying because I guess his mom was his manager, and she was yelling at the promoter because I remember like walking by the ambulance and I heard her say, you set us up. You set us up. You said he was just a jujitsu guy. You said he was a jujitsu guy, and the guy was like, fuck, dude, I didn't know. Like, Jesus Christ. Like. And the kid was just like, I know, for a couple hours in the ambulance before he was able to get up.
Whoa. And did you ever hear
Uh,
back? Did someone ever tell you no, he lived, he's not brain damaged, or
he's,
he just
yeah, I mean, I always like, look at people's records, and he had a couple more fights after that, but he called it quits after that for pretty soon after that. So I'm sure he was fine. I like sometimes I don't know my power, and like if I ever spar, I like sparring with people that are like just students, not like pros, because I let them play a lot, because I'm not scared of getting hit. So like they like to fight with me a lot of times because they know that like I'll put a little pressure, but I'm not trying to hurt them. But what happens is like sometimes I do hurt them by accident, and that's because I don't know my strength, and I just be like, and they're like, oh shit, and I'm like, oh fuck, dude, or
you
like
just landed a punch? Yeah, and
yeah, like I've definitely on two occasions broken somebody's ribs,
oh,
over the years, and multiple times I just accidentally like flash knocked somebody out or dropped them in the gym sparring.
I mean that must happen every now and then, break a rib.
It happens for sure, especially like, well, the ribs don't happen that often with the big gloves, but for sure, like flash knockouts or knockouts do happen if you spar in Alliance MMA, where I used to train for most of my MMA fights, throughout my career. We trained really hard. Like I think people are getting smarter now, but that was like many moons ago. And back then we were like kind of shoot box where every time we sparred, we were trying to knock each other out. We just thought that iron sharpens iron. And there was even a time where like my coach would have this, if you knock somebody out at the gym, he would buy you lunch because he wants us trying that hard.
Like
And
Cobra
when I,
Kai.
yeah, I fought Jens Pulver and I beat him. He was, if anybody, that's old school, but if anybody recalls, he was a UFC lightweight champion, and he beat BJ Penn. He was a great fighter. I did catch him on the tail end of his career, but training for that fight, I do remember like knocking out several partners, and it wasn't like students; those are like pros. You know, those
Yeah.
are professional MMA fighters.
Wow. So what's the worst time you've ever been knocked out? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do remember that. The only time I've been knocked out completely unconscious, where I didn't remember anything, was in a car. So
Oh,
it was my fault. I was not gonna lie. This was very young, and I think I was like probably drinking and driving. I'm sorry, and I'm legally blind. All like even before fighting, like I've always had real shitty vision in this eye as well. Um, and I hit a dip going I don't know how fast in a car with no seatbelt. And I went bah, like that. Like I hit the roof of the car and I was completely fucking passed out. And then I woke up and I was inside a car dealership. Like I had fucking jumped a fence and gone through shit. And I was inside the car dealership in my car. And I just woke up. I was like, oh shit. Like, I don't know. I probably shouldn't be saying this, but then I just like drove, stayed
get
home.
that to reverse, get
And
the fuck out.
yeah, yeah. And that's the only time I've ever been like completely knocked out unconscious. I've had humans put me down, but I'm like a weeble wobble. Like I haven't had one knockdown where I've ever been on the ground and I didn't instantly get up.
Wow. Yeah. So do you earn more bare knuckle boxing than you did in the MMA?
Yes, it was paying really good at first. I don't know if it's still paying that good. One of the problems I didn't go back, one of the reasons I didn't go back was because after that match where they stopped it because of my jaw, I made like $12,000 for that fight, and then they offered me another fight for 6,000, and I was like, "Fuck you guys! Like, I'm not doing this for fucking crumbs anymore." I've never put on a boring fight like win or lose in my entire life, so I felt like I was way worth more than that, and as much as I wanted to continue fighting, it wasn't right.
So you're done fighting at this point.
I wouldn't say that, dude. I was just like, I would really love to do a boxing match before I retire. So shout out if anybody listening has any ideas or anything, you can get a hold of me through Instagram. But send me an email. Don't fucking ever DM me if it's anything business related. My email's right there. I do want to do a fight, before I retire. Uh, God, I would love to do MMA, but like I said, my knees are so shitty. I feel like boxing's like the only thing I could really put in a hard camp for. So I wouldn't say I'm retired, but I mean pretty close to it. But I would really like to do one more.
Never say never. So
Yeah.
what sets you apart from the typical MMA fighter is that you're also into drag. And I read that your drag name is Lola Pistola.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So
Thank
how
you.
long when did you get into drag? Like, were you doing it the whole time you're fighting?
No, I did an emotional intelligence class after I retired from MMA the first time, and then before I came back to do BKFC, and it was like a huge learning experience for me, and it was an exercise that I did in vulnerability and just like trying something that's uncomfortable, that out of your comfort zone and out of the box for you. And I have always been an artist of some sort. Like when I retired from MMA, though, like I did concentrate on selling paintings, and that's kind of what I do now. I also tattoo, but I try to like focus my career on fine arts as much as possible. But it's really hard to pay the bills like that, so sometimes I pick up the slack by tattooing. And the drag thing, it was just like an opportunity for me as an artist to try something new, and it just had like a real positive effect on people. And I was doing it, like I said, as a challenge to myself, but I wasn't expecting this. A lot of people reached out, and it helped them in a very positive way, like I said, that I wasn't expecting. So to see it have such a positive impact on people made me want to continue to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So is there a big scene, like a drag scene in San Diego?
Yeah, I live in, no, not really. I mean, there's a scene, but it's not,
Scene.
I wouldn't say it's huge, but I live in LA now. So there is a huge drag scene here.
Yeah, LA's got a massive drag scene.
Yeah.
Um, so how often do you perform?
Usually like only 3 or 4 times a year, you know. It costs me money. I am like a starving artist. Like, like I live a very what do you call it? I live a very modest lifestyle, so I don't ever have to go to work in a 9 to 5. So whatever little money I make, I really make it stretch out. And for me to do drag, it costs me money. So it's not something that I can do all the time. If you talk to people that do it all the time, and very few, it's like fighting. Only like the top 1% are gonna ever make money doing drag. It's usually a passion, and they work all week at their 9 to 5 bullshit job so they could buy some new outfit, some new makeup, and they get to go out there and perform, and they love it because they're in front of a crowd, and like who wouldn't want to? That's it's such a cool way to entertain and to be yourself. But for
Yeah.
me, like I said, I don't make money doing drag, so it's like it's really hard for me to do it more often than that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it's a cheap hobby. I mean, you got to buy the makeup, the dress, the
Yeah.
outfit, and everything. So
Plus, I'm a real prima donna, and I hate you. Like, I like refuse to do the same outfit twice or anything like that. It's just like,
you go switch it up.
yeah. On top of everything else, I'm like, I'm not wearing that twice.
So, are there any similarities between drag performing and MMA, in your opinion?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've talked about this a lot, but my first time doing a performance was in a competition. I didn't know. I thought it was just like an open mic, and I showed up, and we're all like getting ready in a broom closet pretty much. And when you start fighting, you usually start at smaller venues with smaller warm-up rooms. And anybody who's come through the ranks fighting knows that at some point you probably had to warm up right next to one of your opponents.
Same room?
Yeah, for sure.
Wow.
If you fight at a small show, 100% you've had that experience where you've been just a yard or two away from the dude that you're going to fight as you're warming up. um, when you go through the ranks, you get big fucking rooms and all this happens, But like I said, it had that feeling of me being in the room with my competition, and you're like thinking,
Yeah.
oh shit, can I beat them? Sizing them up.
It
So,
sounds like you got that competitive nature too. So it's like,
yeah, of course.
so what's more difficult to master, high heels or like a spinning back fist?
They're both pretty tough. I mean, drag can be very painful as well. I mean, if you have a partner out there that wears high heels for you, you take time to appreciate them in makeup,
Yeah.
because it is horrendous. Like, drag is way more exaggerated than your average makeup, but like it's so caked on and just taking it off. And from people don't understand this, but like for me to do drag, it's like I have almost 20 years of MMA on my feet. You know what I'm saying? To fucking sandwich them into these high ballerina heels and shit, like just like tippy toe. And when I'm done, it feels like my feet are gonna bleed. And like some bitch on Instagram was like, "Oh my god, you need new dance moves," and I was like, "I'm fucking 43 and I'm 200 pounds. Like, it's amazing that I'm even out here doing this shit. Like, what's your problem? Like, I'm not trying to win RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm just trying to be like, hey, look, I can
The
dress up like
fact
a chick if I want. I don't give a fuck.
the fact that you're even able to do it, I mean, that impresses me. So
Thank you. That's what I'm saying.
what type of reaction do you get when you tell fighters that you're into drag? Like, or are you open about it?
Yeah, I mean, I think almost everybody that knows me now has seen me do it. But all my friends, they knew me from so way back. They're like, if anybody was gonna do it, it would be Diego. So
Yeah.
like, nobody close to me. And like, I think the people that have any issue, nobody has said anything to me. Like I'm saying, I'm not a world-class fighter, but fuck, dude, I'll give anybody problems. I don't think anybody wants to just be like, like I have that privilege where like if a trans person actually just goes outside, they're in danger of losing their life because people are so fucking
Yeah.
aggressive and negative, unfortunately. And like I get to do whatever the fuck I want. I go out and I'm not really scared, and it's very rare somebody has ever said anything negative to me. It's usually people online, because you know how easy it is for people to hide behind a
See
keyboard.
it in your face. So you've never like you never gotten a fight like in full drag and just beat the fuck out of someone wearing a dress, a wig.
No, I never had to and shit. Not yet.
Yeah, I imagine that must happen every now and then because I've seen some drag queens that are quite intimidating, you know?
Yeah, it depends, like everybody has different things they're scared of. But I think when they see me, like, I don't look like your average fucking drag queen and shit. My back is like, I can't even fit into, like, it's hard for me to find clothes to fit in. My back is like this fucking wide. My neck is this, you know, I'm like covered in tattoos. People are like, oh, fucking, probably not gonna fucking, I'll pick a different person for a hate crime, you know?
That's like, I'm not going to say it to his face. I'm just going to go on Facebook.
Exactly.
Well, Diego, can I plug anything, a website or your social, like your Instagram?
Yes, please, please. I hate it, but unfortunately, 100% of my income right now does come from Instagram. My regular Instagram is Diego Garijo, just at Diego Garijo, one word. That's my name. Garijo. I do sell paintings that anybody can purchase. If you just email me, don't send me a DM because I don't fucking check my DMs because it's mostly people sending me dick pics all the time. Because the drag thing does put you in a weird state, you know, where it's like, you know, I don't get enough. I don't get so many women slipping into the DMs as I do dick pics apparently, but
Imagine when people see you doing drag, do people think that you're gay or do they assume like, you know, you might be bi or something?
I think straight cis males, like cis hetero males, I think that more commonly than other people. I think other people's and younger people especially realize that clothes don't have a gender. It doesn't mean anything. You know,
Exactly.
that's kind of like one of the things I'm trying to promote is just like, I just want everybody to be themselves and mind your fucking business. Just respect other people. You don't have to fucking have them over for dinner, but you don't have to be an asshole about it, you know? At the end of the day, that's, yeah, as an artist, that's my message.
Don't be, you don't
Yeah.
need to.
And yeah, you know, if I'm a big fucking burly dude that knocks people out and I can put on a dress and be fucking cool about it, anybody can be cool about it, you know?
For real. All right.
Yeah.
I will definitely put up a
A
link to
link.
your Instagram page.
Real quick, I just want to say when paintings get slow, if you want a real fucking weird, unique tattoo, I also do tattoos. And
What shop do you work out of?
I have a private studio. I just
Oh, okay.
I don't do like traditional tattooing. I do freehand stuff. So like you come in and I fucking draw something on your body and then I tattoo it on. So it's like custom to like your body and whatever you want. But I don't do like really dark shit like skulls, like clowns killing babies, like really weird shit. Like if you're into like really fucking dark shit, then I'm your guy. Like if you want to get like a butterfly, like definitely don't come to me. Right now my Instagram name is Let's Add More Black.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right.
because I like the big bold black tattoos.
Well, people, you can get tattooed. Black. I'm a fan of the black tattoos as well. So
Thank you.
yeah, you get tattooed or you get a custom piece of artwork as well. Thank you, Diego. It's been great chatting with you, man. And I hope you have a happy new year.
Thank you. I wish you the same. I had a great time and thank you for having me on.